What's up, guys? Horizon Track Club here. I'm Carlos, and I'm on a business trip in the middle of Quebec. Thanks for tuning into this podcast, episode 5 of Expanding the Horizon. We're joined today by Trackstaa, but first, we have a little announcement to make.
Yeah, so I'm Ryan Clifford, the Director of Entertainment and co-founder of Horizon Track Club, and looks like we got a little sunset in the horizon here, and on September 30th, we got a little bit of a collab coming with one of the biggest brands you guys may know. Don't want to give you a little bit too much, but yeah, September 30th, keep it on your calendars.
Put it on your calendar, September 30th. Thanks so much for supporting us, and we're ready to shock the track world and track the shock world.
Shock the track.
Track the shock.
Woo!
Welcome back to the Trackstaa Running Podcast. I've been wanting to change my name or change the Trackstaa name on this, so I'd like to hear your input. Should we change it to Trackstaa Talk, because that's kind of like Track Talk, or should we leave it with Trackstaa the Running Podcast? I feel like it's very generic, and I just kind of want to switch it up a bit.
Oh, you're asking me that question?
Yeah, I'll ask you. Audience as well.
Trackstaa. I mean, your name is pretty stapled. It's pretty stapled on Instagram and stuff. Like, people know what Trackstaa is. I'd just keep Trackstaa, honestly, if I was you, because we know, like, you make a lot of noise on Instagram. You have your YouTube that's growing and stuff. I would just keep everything like unified into one for sure. You could have like or something backed by Trackstaa, or like you could change the name of the actual podcast. I know for us at Horizon, we have our podcast is called Expanding the Horizon, but then we're the Horizon Track Club, so it's like kind of worked out into it.
Yeah, I was looking at trying to like expand in the terms of, like you said, like acquiring, where it's like powered by Trackstaa and like getting a few different other podcasts. And we've got one out in Australia, but it's just what Citius Mag do, like they seem to have such a good setup. It's trying to find the balance of how to prioritize all different podcasts as well as the Trackstaa one, because I really want to expand the content. And I'm sure this is something we get to talk about quite a lot in terms of how we sort of run social side of things, as well as trying to run, I guess, a business and other things like that. But it's like, I'm always curious to how Citius do it, because I feel like they're sort of paving the way in terms of whatever they do. I try to look at, okay, how can I implement this into what we do? And something they do really well is have a really extensive podcast network, which I think builds great relationships with guests. Right.
Yeah, I guess you can have so you have 2 podcasts right now. You have the Trackstaa podcast, and then you have another one in Australia, you said?
Yeah, so it's more low-key. I haven't really announced it. It's more, we're going to start working together, and like I get them some guests sometimes, and then we'll sort of, do different podcasts. And then sometimes if they do certain content, we'll share it on our Instagram or just promote the podcast. It's Sticks and Stones, or Sticks and Bones. They'll probably hate me if I get the name wrong, but it's a young guy who one of my earliest followers called Isaac Bibble, and it's his podcast. I'll tell you the exact name because I feel really bad saying that.
Yeah, it's Sticks and Bones. It's Sticks and Bones.
That's it. So that's the podcast. But we haven't really done anything yet. I'm kind of exploring what to do with it. But as we're on the subject of podcasts and guests, why don't you introduce yourself? Because I feel like this is the longest I've got into the podcast without actually introducing the guest. So
yeah, totally. So my name is Carlos Vargas. I'm the co-owner of Horizon Track Club. So we're an aspiring professional track team here in Canada. Right now, I wouldn't consider ourselves professional yet. We do have professional level runners, like we have that run under our banner, but we do identify ourselves more so as a brand. So even though we're called the Horizon Track Club, it's a brand right now. We're a running inspired brand that also has lifestyle clothing that we're going to release up in September. We're going to have a new release. And so, yeah, right now we do have like really good athletes that run under our banner. Like I said, we have Cameron Persiviat, who's representing Canada and at Worlds in Eugene. He has the Canadian record in the indoor mile. He ran 3:52, and then outdoors he ran a 3:36 low in the 15. And then we have 2 up and coming, like really high level athletes that run under our banner, Charlie Donat and Aaron All. Both of them, they're sub 340 for the 1500 meter. They just ran a 3:56 mile against Tinman. So we had like almost like a battle. It was 3 of our boys running against Tinman Elite last week, and they beat us 12-9. But if we were to count points, it was like a 3 versus 3 team deathmatch type of thing. And so, yeah, Drew Hunter was first, Sam was second, and we had our buddy Cam And then it was our two boys, I think Aaron and Charlie, and then Joey Beriatua. So yeah, no, it was a good battle. But yeah, so that's who we are right now. Just backtracking a bit, like Cam and Charlie, they run for Simon Fraser University, which is the only NCAA school in Canada. So we're in the NCAA league, but we actually live in Vancouver, British Columbia. So we're always in the States, competing against Oregon, University of Washington, like all these schools in the States, whether in Division 1 or Division 2. And so, yeah, a lot of people don't know that about Canada, but like we have our own league, our own college league. It's called U Sports. And like we're one of the only schools that's not in that league, that's in the NCAA. So yeah, that's
So
us.
I'm guessing the answer to my question I'm about to ask is, how does U Sports compare to the NCAA? Is it quite a big difference?
Not really. It doesn't compare to Division 1, that's for sure. Division 2, well, I mean, there's like, so I'd say the depth just isn't as deep. So like the top two guys are really solid, let's say in the 1500 meter or 3000 meter or whatnot. But U Sports' first issue with it is they only have indoors, so they don't even have an outdoor league. So they have cross country and indoor. They do have like high level athletes compete there. It's like really special. Like I think there's only like 50 schools in it. Because like in Canada in general, there's not as many universities as in the States. In the States, like college, I think there's like over 1600 colleges, with whether it's like Division 1, Division 2, Division 3. There's junior colleges, there's NAIA. So with all of that, like there's just like a lot more depth in there. I'd say U Sport probably compares to like Division 2 or even Division 3 maybe. Yeah, but there's some high class athletes there. It's just not as deep.
That's what it's kind of like in the UK. Like there's the caliber at the top is high, but then to make a final you can run considerably slower than in the NCAAs. Even to make the NCAAs, you can win championships most of the time in the times in the UK. And I think our universities, like our best universities, probably compared to D2, maybe even D3 setups as well. And that is our like top level universities. So it is scary and also a bit sad to see the difference. But I feel like that's something that I didn't know, first of all, that Canadian universities compete in the NCAAs. But also it's kind of interesting to see that.
We're the only one. So in general, it's not a thing. No one really knows, but yeah.
So was that a choice by the university to obviously have better opportunities to race, or?
Yeah, I think it is. I mean, it's a college-wide thing. So like our football team, our soccer team, volleyball, etc., they're all actually also in the NCAA. So it was more so like a decision from the university itself. We used to be in the NAIA, and NAIA kind of compares to Division 3, I'd say. So it's like another division different in the States. We used to be in that one. I think way, way back, we might have been in the Canadian League. But yeah, now we're Division 2. And I mean, our runners are, I'd say, almost like Division 1 caliber. I mean, Aaron ran 338 in the 15, and Charlie just ran a 356 miles. So I think they would be competitive Division 1 as well. So yeah, that's where we're at. We also have a woman called a girl named Allison, who Andrews Paul, she runs under our banner sometimes as well. Horizon, like, I mean, she's a supported athlete. So like through Horizon, what we do is we're a brand, but we do also just support athletes in whichever way we can. Because obviously, like the sport of track and field, like a lot of people aren't really like supported the way they should, in my opinion. And so we try and like give like free shoes to some people, or like support them with like free nutrition, whether it's like having them like get a sponsor for like protein or something like that. And so we support like Allison. And in that sense, she's a 202 800 meter runner. Yeah, she runs 202, and she's from New Zealand initially. She went to Baylor Division 1 school and then transferred to SFU. And so yeah, we're kind of like growing into a brand where we want to just like support Canadian athletes mainly, or like athletes that compete in Canada, and then ultimately become that Bowerman Track Club, or like become that one like team in Canada that people know. We're definitely like replicating the same model as Tinman, where like we have merch sales and stuff like that. But like in Canada, there's no pro team. Like there's no professional teams at all. Like it's just weird. There's definitely like professionally sponsored athletes. Like there's some athletes that are with Nike, there's some athletes that are with New Balance, etc. But all on an individual basis. There's no teams though. Like there's no pro team. So like we're aspiring to be like that one pro team that everybody knows about across the world.
So I want to touch on that a lot because I've shared similar interests in the UK in terms of how there's no teams. But I want to take a step back a second as we were talking about the Tinman mile. How does something like that go about? Like, how did you decide that that was going to be the battle between you and Tinman? Was that a pre-organized thing, or was that like, these are the entry lists, let's make this a thing?
Yeah, we saw the entry list, like me and the co-owner of Horizon, Jose. We saw the entry list like 2 days before, and we saw that our boys were like ranked really high there, and amongst the Tinman elite athletes. And we saw like, okay, well, like I personally know a little bit. Like I talked to Sam Parsons sometimes, and I was like, okay, so there's Sam, Joey, and Drew Hunter, and then on our side we had 3. And like looking at their PRs, they were like all very similar in the 1500 meter. So I was like, yo, let's just like hype that up and make it as if it's like a team deathmatch type of thing, like 2 teams going against each other. I think in general that'd be cool, right? If you had like Barman going against OTC and stuff like that. And like the team aspect is what like Horizon like we really like focus on. And I think like Tinman are very similar, where they like help each other as a team, and like they're very like team driven. And it's almost like translating that college vibe to like the pro level. Because like once you're done NCAA, a lot of athletes, they're alone, like training alone all the time and stuff. So they don't have like that team support. I think the team energy and team aspects really helps you like elevate yourself to a new level. And that's like the case for us, where we have like a lot of really good up and coming runners, and we're like all very tight knit as a team, and we always hang out together and stuff like that. So that's really how it came out to be. But yeah, Tinman and Horizon, that was just, we just saw the entry list and decided to make a post about it. We chefed out a quick graphic. Like me and Jose were in Portland. We were racing the Stumptown race there. And we're out there. And we just saw that, made a graphic, posted it. That's how we go about things usually.
And in terms of Tinman, and I guess sort of paving the way, not just for teams or from, especially teams without the backing of a brand originally, but also from a content production point of view, as well as like growing up following again from nothing. How do you like look at Tinman and see them as not sort of copying what they're doing, but sort of taking inspiration from what they do?
Yeah,
And
they're a pioneer in the game for sure. Because as you said, like a lot of teams, like they're really good and they're backed up by a big brand, right? But like Tinman, they kind of like just grew their own socials, grew their own stuff, and then at one point they integrated Adidas in it. But they still keep their own like team identity, their team branding, which is super dope, I think. And like they still have a say with like what they release. They have it's like I feel like that way you give more power to the athletes. But so how we're integrating it is you'll see in the next couple months when we do some releases, but we'll definitely have like we'll be backed by a brand at one point for sure. Especially like looking at the caliber of athletes that we have. And so like some of them, like Cam, he should be like already like have a pro contract. Like he went to World Indoors, World Outdoors. He's a Canadian record holder. Like how is he not going to have a contract? He's actually also a doctor. So he's like doing his practicum right now, working like 24-hour shifts, grinding it, and then going to practice. So like, like I think he definitely deserves that. And we're helping him get more exposure. But to go back to the content creation thing you said, I think that's something that's like, that used to be lacking in the sport. And like now, like that teams like Tinman create more content. Like it gives like aspiring athletes like the ideas that like, yo, you need to be like showcasing yourself as an athlete as well. So it's one thing to be running fast, but I think like being an entertainer and like showing like creating some hype around your races, or creating some hype around your personal branding, I think in my opinion is very important. And that's what we do at Horizon, where we try and bring out the best in every athletes that run under our banner. So yeah.
And how is yourself focused on different things? Like, how do you spend your time trying to develop Horizon in the best way possible? Because it's very easy to spread yourself really thin across every single different avenue. So how do you sort of go about day to day as well as training?
Totally. Yeah, it's a lot. Like it's definitely a lot, because I have a full-time job as well, and I train as well at a high level. Like indoors, I ran a 401 miles, so I'd say I'm like pretty elite, like getting there to that point and training with the boys. I mean, I train with the best runners in Canada, so I mean, it's elevating my game. But in order not to spread too thin, what we're doing right now is like we're incorporating like a lot of younger athletes that run under our banner and that run with our singlets in the summer. And so a lot of those athletes that are in university right now, a lot of them have skills that they can use to help us out. So for example, like for our podcast, we'll have like someone else lead it. So me and Jose have been doing a lot of the work, but you guys all see on our channel, like our Horizon Track Club channel, you'll see like other guys pop in sometimes because they'll come and help out. And so we'll compensate them, and they'll just be like helping the business grow in general. So everybody's gonna have this different role. So really, like in like assigning role, that's how we're gonna grow the business. Like we'll have someone doing the Discord moderation, we'll have someone like focusing on YouTube, someone that's gonna film a bit more, and like me and the co-founder Jose are gonna like lead things a bit more. We're definitely gonna keep editing our own videos because like I think like our vlog game has like it's starting to pick up, and even like the video content that we release on Instagram, like we have a reel right now that has like 130,000 views, sorry. And so for us, like we're like slowly growing, you know, like it's not like we have a crazy following, like we're at 1,400 followers, but honestly, like over the past 2 weeks we've gained a lot of traction. I think we gained like 300 followers or something. So that's because we're just like pumping out content constantly, showcasing our athletes but also connecting with others. So like we like to connect with other athletes, like or like other like brands or track and field content creators like you, right? We just like to get the conversation going, and that's how we've been growing.
Yeah, and I think it's really important to sort of, I guess, set targets in terms of not just the team performance, but also the performance of how you are doing on social media or how you are interacting with other, like, I don't know how to word it, like other people's fan bases. Like I saw big like power, and something I've not done enough of is recording podcasts with guests, because every single time you record a podcast, you're getting their followers in. And then, you know, it's collaborating with different runners, I think, is really crucial, not only to grow your brand, but to also provide, I guess, some sort of I can't think of the word off the top of my head. You get
different perspectives also, right, for people. So
100%. And I think that's another thing. Like there's so many different, I think running's a sport where you don't really get to see people's perspectives and opinions often. So if you're someone to bring that to light, and you're highlighting, like say, Horizon athletes' story, like you said, a doctor as well as someone who's training at elite level, that is a
yeah,
story that people are interested in. And not just
yeah,
in
exactly.
running, that's a global story.
Yeah, because everybody, like as a person, is special, right? It's just that we like bringing it out is something different. Like a lot of people, they're not going to go out of their way to showcase who they are. So like for us as Horizon, it's our job like to like bring out the best in athletes. So we want to bring out the best in our like high level athletes and showcase who they are as a person. Because like track is just like in general, like it's like, okay, you run a time, but like you don't want to like just be that one guy that runs a certain time. And I've heard that before, and it's like everybody has a certain personality, so like it's cool to showcase it, even showing the before and after. That's why we started vlogging. Like we want to show like what happens before the races when you're getting ready and stuff, and then what happens after, like everything that's kind of like goes around running as a lifestyle, like as an overall lifestyle. And also that's how we're like trying to expand, being like a running inspired brand. And so we want to even expand outside of running, you know. We want to have people like rock our stuff because, or like people discover what running is about through our brand. So like that's really like we think a bit more like global, a bit more like big outside of track and field, outside of running as well. So that's why we like give it a cool feel to it. And like we have a lot of like hype stuff, like we hype up our stuff like very well, I think. And I think we need a bit more of that in the sport, just like a bit more conversation going, a bit more hype, like competition, friendly competition, obviously. Yeah.
And how much of that do you think is on the athletes' backs in terms of, should they be vlogging themselves, or should they be trying to create this hype themselves? Because in any other sport, really, you've got pundits, you've got different networks doing the work for them. Where do you think that lies with the athlete's responsibility at the minute? Because let's be honest, there's not really many news like stories. There's not many publications or can sort of, and even if when it happens is like when you highlight some sort of drama, it normally gets frowned upon. So where do you think the line lies between what the athletes have to do and what brands should be doing more?
Yeah, like referring to what you just said, it sucks that the drama is taboo in a sense, right? Like having like drama in track and field, it's like a lot, it's really like frowned upon. And like I think we need a bit more hype, like a bit more competition, a bit more like even like shit talk, honestly. Like people should like shit talk a little bit, in my opinion. Like being respectful, obviously, but like it's cool to just like have a little bit of that going. But in regards to like the responsibility of the athlete, I think when you're growing, that's what we're trying to do as well. Like when you're growing and you're not at that level yet, like high level, I think you should try and like definitely work on your social media. If you have that vision that later on you're going to be a pro runner, I think your social media and all that is very important. Is the new game, because back then, like, there was a lot of money in track and field, and like really high level athletes would get paid a lot because it was broadcasted on television a lot. And like brands didn't really, in my opinion, I think brands didn't really have a way to measure the returns on their investment on athletes. It's just like, okay, if you're fast, then you're going to be like on TV. So that's their only way to like measure their return on investment. It's like, okay, that one athlete was like at 5 diamond leagues and whatnot. He was like on the TV, or he was at big meets, he was on the TV, but now they have a way to measure it in another way, which is like through your social media. Like if you have a discount code or what, like stuff like that, which you see like a lot, or like if you have a link in bio or whatever, like if you're like a Nike athlete, I think like they'll like probably measure that like very strictly. And so like I think like growing your social media is important. But at the same time, like when you're focused on being a pro athlete, it definitely sucks to have to think about that. So that's why like a group like us, like, or Tinman, like they have like a videographer following them, right? Tinman, like all year. So like they don't have to focus about like getting a coach to film them or getting someone else to film them. And like I was listening to like a podcast, like another podcast that Sam Parsons did, and that's what he was saying. He was like, it's just annoying to get your coach or get a friend to like film you and all that. And that's so true. Like I've been doing it for a while. Like I'll just get like people to film me at the track, like get a homie to come through and like film our videos. Or like let's say as soon as someone's injured, like we'll get them to come bike with us and like film our race, film our workouts and stuff like that. Definitely a lot to think about. I think it's a 50-50 thing where it obviously the sport isn't there at a place where like we get that much media attention yet. But I think if we like work all together and grow it more, then we'll get more interest.
How do you think this is, for me being curious as well, because I have to sort of do it a bit. How do you find trying to work in the running space and growing a brand in the running space whilst also training? Because it's kind of hard to switch off, especially when you have it from two different verticals. Like I'm either thinking about running performance or I'm thinking about Trackstaa as a running brand. So how do you sort of go about that? Because I find it so hard.
Thing is, for me, running becomes a vice where like when I'm training hard, like I forget about like the business side of things, and like my mind's always rolling. Like if I'm sleeping, I'll have meetings in my head when I'm sleeping. Like no lie, I'll wake up with ideas for Horizon. I'll wake up like in the middle of the night and I'll be like, yo, like I should do this for Horizon. I'll take notes, like because my mind's just like that. I'm like super like creative and like my mind's always active. But then running becomes a vice for me where like when I'm running is that only time where like I'm not thinking about these things. Like sometimes if I'm going on an easy run, I'll actually think about these things. But let's say I'm like doing a high intensity workout with the boys, like this is the only moment that matters, like just the present. It's like you're getting you're all in a race or in a workout, and like when you get into that zone where you're just like working out, it's kind of like a vice to your other problems or your other issues or like the business stuff you're thinking about. So I think for me that's how it is. Like that's my vice when like I feel good when I'm running because I'm not thinking about those business things, right? That's how I approach it, at least.
Yeah, and I think from Trackstaa, I got too carried away sometimes with seeing comments whilst I'm warming up, or as like I'm checking what splits I've got to hit in a session, and I can see a comment come up in Trackstaa, and I'm like, should I check this now or should I not? And it's like I have like a strange mentality, especially with YouTube. If I reply to that comment instantly, then it might help the algorithm because they're replying again, and I just always feel bad when I'm like, it's
I
like
think the
bugging
same
me.
way. We do the same thing. It's so bad, but like when we're training though, we don't check our phones at all. Like we're training as a team and like our coach is there and all, like no one's checking their phones unless like you're maybe playing some music on some speakers or something. But like we're always like a very large team, like training together, like a whole squad. Like so we like always like are just like chatting and like fucking around together and stuff. So like no one really checks their phone. But like literally if I'm training alone, like I've definitely had that issue where I go on my phone and I'm like, oh shit, I'm trying to like reply to comments and all that. And it's like pretty bad because it's like you should be focused on your workout, right? It's a hard balance to have. I don't know about the algorithm thing, but it's definitely like kind of like it's just like an instinct that we have as creators. We just want to like straight up like go like comment right away. And it's so bad sometimes because like even with Jose, like because we work together, like we'll always be talking about Horizon like literally all the time and like how to grow it, how to grow our runners, how to grow our brand. And right now we're like designing clothes, new clothing and stuff. And it's like literally like sometimes he'll pull up to practice with his like laptop, and like I'll have my SD card, and he'll be like loading stuff into his laptop while we're going for a run, like in the locker rooms or something. And it's like, damn, that's like juggling both worlds is definitely very intense. It is what it is, man.
Yeah, it's good that you've got someone else to do it as well, though, because like if I'm at training and I'm like having a camera and I'm like, okay, now I need to move this there and then get this shot, and then it's just like,
yeah, that's tough. You do that
it's
for your
horrendous.
workouts, right? Like you move your camera and you do it yourself.
Yeah, well, I've started to get my girlfriend more, but like back in the old days, or like even now, I've got my camera the other day, and it was like I was moving it around from different, like trying to prop it up in different places. But then eventually my battery died. I'm like, I'm not going into my bag and getting a new battery out and putting it in this camera in the middle of my workout when I'm trying to run. Like it was a lactic session as well, so I'm like, I'm no way am I compromising
Oh my
doing
god, yeah,
that.
no way. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that. Yeah, that's tough. That's a tough thing to do.
Yeah, so I'm sort of trying to say like separate them completely in terms of when you're running, and when you're like doing running work, I guess it's different. But
The
then
mental switch, you gotta switch up the mental switch. It's almost like working with friends is also something that's tough, like because you're always talking about business, and like literally like with Jose, like that who works with me, who owns Horizon, like we went to Portland, like Stumptown, we raced there, and then like we had one day where we were like, okay, let's just like literally chill. So like we went to Beaverton and like looked at like the Nike headquarters there, like ran around there. We saw like, you know, like Donovan Brazier was like working out there on the track and all, and we're like enjoying it, right? And then we went to like a pool just to chill outside, and I like kept like bringing up ideas about Horizon, and he was like, yo bro, like just have a day off where we're like not thinking about it. And for me it's hard to do. Like he's better at it, at just like tuning it off. I'm like, for me it's super tough to tune off.
yeah, I think while we're on the subject of that, my worst like experience of that was when I went to two different diamond leagues, and I noticed after the diamond leagues that I'd done more Trackstaa work than actually enjoyed watching it, and it was so upsetting to me
Yo,
afterwards. And I was
exactly.
like, I was watching it through a phone rather than watching it in the stands. And like one of them was when Cheptegei broke the 5K world record, and
Oh
I
my
was
god,
literally
yeah.
watching it through my phone screen, filming it rather than watching it, and I was just like, this needs to stop. And
Yeah, no, it sucks, man. Definitely sucks. I
that was a
definitely had
shame.
that feeling as well. I've had the same feeling as you, for sure, man. For
So
sure.
I'm
It's all good.
In fact,
Yeah,
but I'm getting your Discord through a tiny bit on the note, like on the
yeah.
notifications.
I just closed it.
All
My
right,
bad.
good stuff. Maybe I'll leave that in just to show that how real this podcast is.
Yeah, leave it in. Honestly, you don't need to cut anything out.
So I was gonna ask, like, as this is again me being curious, and hopefully people find it interesting. How do you have, like, obviously Horizon? You have goals and targets. Like, what some of those in terms of the short term goals and then long term goals, and then how do you sort of look at it and go, I'll be happy by, let's say, the end of this year if we do this, because it's obviously performance goals and then also growth goals. So what are your goals, I guess, for Horizon as a whole?
Yeah, so we've kind of like been thrown into it, and it's happened organically. Like at first we were just like, I just graduated from Simon Fraser University, so a lot of guys that run for Horizon are at SFU right now, or they just graduated. Right now we're trying to expand and get athletes that are outside our realm. But when we started there, like really, like we just like wanted like singlets to run in the summer, because during the year we ran it for SFU, and in the summer we're still training together, but we were running with like random singlets, like random ass like Nike, Adidas, whatever singlets. So like, hey, like we pull up to a race and like no one really knows we're a team. So I'm like, I just like got a bunch of singlets made, and like the guys started wearing them, and they got like at the Olympic trials last year, they got second, third, and fourth. And so we're like, yo, and it was sick because they were rocking the Horizon. So that's where it started. And then like me being me, I just started growing it and like growing the Instagram and social media like right away. But our first goal was just to get like some type of support for these athletes. And so we got like a shoe sponsor. It's a shoe brand, actually a shoe distributor, sorry, a running store called Fit First Footwear. That's like right around the corner from where we train. So everybody goes and like buys shoes there regardless. So they gave us like a lot of free shoes for our like high level runners and like support that way. And so that's how like it happened. Then I was like, yo, like there is like value to what we're doing here, because like a lot of brands are interested. And then we got like throughout the year, we've gotten reached out by a lot of running shoe brands. We just really didn't like what they had to offer or didn't vibe with them. And like we really need like a brand that's going to understand us, understand what we're trying to do, understand our vibe, and like let us really like be like creative minds and like have our creative freedom. But like our goal for the next year is to one, like get a full, like I guess like all the athletes, get them like fully geared up and fully sponsored, where like they can have like, let's say like, especially our elite level runners that are supported by Horizon, get at least like 15 pairs of shoes each. Like I don't want them to pay for shoes at all. Like it gets expensive if you're buying like carbon plated shoes and stuff like that. It's like definitely like gets to like over $1,000 a year for sure, like easy, you know. So like that's our goal, like supporting them. We definitely want to grow our YouTube like subscribers and channel in general, because we're vlogging a lot. So we want to grow it to like probably over like 2-3K subscribers. Like we just started last year, so like it's been a year, and just grow our Instagram. We just want to like grow to be that one Canadian pro team. So like next summer, we want everybody to be geared up with one backer, a shoe brand, and we're gonna have an announcement coming up in September, and like you guys will see which brand we'll go with. But yeah, we're negotiating that right now. Ultimately, we want to have all the time. I want to have a videographer follow us, because you know the issue that you were saying, where like you're literally like training and like managing video and stuff. Like it shouldn't be like your responsibility to do that. Like we should get like media, you know, like basketball and soccer and all that. They always have like media following them and like creating stories around them. Like I want to have someone do that for us, where I don't need to go out my way and do it. So that's the goal. One of our main goal for sure is to do that, and just become that one. Yeah, in the next 2-3 years, just really be that one Canadian track and field pro team that everybody knows about, and the only one right now. We're the only one.
Do you think it's sort of powerful, like in your own sort of, I guess, Canadian is sort of paving the way for other maybe Canadian groups to come forward in the future?
100%. Like we see, like when you start doing something, some people try and replicate it, and like it creates like friendly competition. Like we've seen a lot of like new Instagram pages in Canada pop up with like similar ideas, or like people that are business minded that I know that are in BC or in Quebec or wherever it is in Canada. Like a lot after we started doing that, like a lot of people started like doing similar things than us, and it's a good thing. Like we're not mad at it. Like even if some of them were trying to copy our stuff a bit, it's like it's fine. Like I'm fine with it, because it creates friendly competition, and like I believe that we're always the one ahead, and we're always the ones like sort of leading the way in Canada for that, especially for like social media, social presence, and like showcasing information in a cool way. So yeah, I think it's good. It's good to have competition, because then everybody's level gets elevated.
Yeah, I think there's some sort of authenticity about being the first, or being like, you know, I guess the most well known, or you know, when everyone sort of sees and thinks of like a Canadian team, it would be Horizon, because we had this when we were making Instagrams. Like there's some coming up what you like used to name their accounts like similar to us, and then they'd like do things similar to us, and it was like that's fine, because whatever we do will then pave the way for what they do. So sort of, you know, we're always going to be authentic to ourselves,
because you're the leader and they're the followers. So
yeah,
like they're going to be following your stuff. Obviously we definitely get inspired by other brands. Like we've gotten inspired even by like running brands, or like groups, vloggers, creatives like Westfly. Like even Westfly, we got inspired by them a little bit, like got inspired by Tinman, got inspired by all of these things. We have our own feel and our own vibe to it. But then definitely I get inspired by like all of those for sure.
Just while we're on the good point to stop, I'm just going to end this call and recall, because we're too cheap to have premium Zoom. So we get kicked off after 40 minutes. So
straight up.
I'll recall in a second. My podcast listeners are going to be fed up with hearing that, because I leave that in every time as well. But
it's all good.
Right, so we're back from our little intermittence. I feel like I could speak to you all day about the brand side of things and strategy behind growing a running brand as well as training. So I want to get onto some subjects that have been happening in the running world as of recently. And I feel like in terms of from Tracks's point of view, it was kind of dry for quite a long time in terms of what was going on in the running world. And then we've been hit with so many things at once, which is fine by me, because it just means more content.
100%.
But I just feel like these are kind of game changers in terms of what news has come out. So first of all, let's not talk about, we'll talk about the club, but from a different point of view. And that is first Oregon Track Club. I just want to speak about their singlet design first of all, because we spoke about this. And I just want to know what you have to say about their singlet design.
Straight up. So honestly, like I don't know if we're tripping or anything, but like it seems like Oregon Track Club, they in a sense copied Horizon Track. Like so I was actually speaking about that with Vince Ciatti. Like I saw him last week in Portland, and I was like, "Yo, Vince, like, did Oregon Track Club like copy our design or what?" And he's like, "What? Like, what are you saying?" Like, and I showed him. So like, I don't know if there's a way you can pop it up on the screen and people can see like if we're gonna post a video or whatever or a picture. But if you guys go check out like our Horizon Track Club like t-shirts, like we have the four stripes where like that goes like this, but like across, and so we got those shirts like made like last summer and like released them in like September. And then like all our squad was rocking it. Like everybody was like thought the shirts was sick. And then Oregon Track Club, like they released like their merch like early summer or something. And we realized like, yo, it's actually like the same gradient, like the same exact idea. Obviously, it's kind of like a retro feel and all that. Maybe they got the idea from somewhere else, but we just thought it was sus that like as soon as we release ours, they release theirs. I don't know. I'm not saying like they actually copied us. Maybe they just like got inspiration from us because they have a different gradient. But still, we were like, damn, like it looks like they really copied us because we had a picture actually taken. Jose took a picture with Vince, and like both t-shirts like side by side, and it's like the same exact like design. So we're like, hey, it's kind of weird that we released it first. Vince was saying like, yo, Oregon Track Club, like Nike could not do that. Like they wouldn't like look at like smaller brands and copy it. But I think in general, like I'm sure there's like creatives and that are like work for Nike that do look at what's on the come up. And so I really wonder if like the creatives behind like the OTC singlets, if they like were inspired by what we released earlier on, because we were making a lot of noise with our clothing. And so I don't know.
I feel like that's something that brands can do. Like I feel like you see it a lot on Instagram where like low-key artists are like saying they stole my design. Not Nike in particular, but like so many bigger brands can do that and get away with it. But I also think it's kind of cool in a sense, like if you're doing something and then someone else sort of takes inspiration from that, that's nice. And then also with a team like Oregon TC, you know, one of the most iconic running teams in the world, in world history, to be honest, it's probably one of the most teams in terms of heritage, like out there. And that's pretty cool, even if it was completely unrelated and no just a coincidence.
Yeah.
It's still pretty cool to even
Yeah,
be
we're still like
about.
we're not mad at it. We're not mad at it. It's just cool. Like we were designing cool stuff and they had the idea from there. Or I don't know, maybe the same idea popped up in our minds that in the creatives' mind. I just know one thing that we released it before them. That's the only thing I know for a fact. So it's just a funny coincidence, you know.
And while we're still on the subject of OTC, I've got two more things about OTC. First one we'll go on to is Mark Rowland is going to Canada. Is that right? The OTC coach. And with that, you've also got Jerry Shumacher moving to the University of Oregon, which then means Bauman are moving to the University of Oregon. So how do you think all this is going to play out in terms of what on earth is going on with Nike and also just like the running world on the West Coast and I guess upwards in Canada now as well overall?
Wait, I didn't know. I knew about Jerry Shumacher going to Oregon. I didn't know about the Mark Rowland thing. I knew he was leaving OTC. So he's gonna. It seems like he's gonna. Oh yeah. So it seems like he's gonna work for Athletics Canada. So it seems like he's gonna work for actual like national, like on a national team level or like be on the board there. I'm not even sure exactly which position he'll have there. But yeah, that's interesting because he was there. Yeah, he was there with OTC for 13 years, like coaching there. So like, yeah, that's crazy that he's like going to Canada. I mean, like he's coached like people like Nick Simmons and like a lot of like really good athletes that we know. Obviously, right now, he was coaching like McBride, so many like the whole OTC squad, right? So yeah, interesting. It seems like yeah, on their team, they do have like two Canadians, right? On the OTC team, they have William Paulson and Brendan McBride. I wonder if he's going to be working with them and bringing them along with him. I don't know. Like, I don't know if they're going to leave OTC and go train there. Maybe Canada's trying to make moves and is trying to have like an actual like real pro team there. I'm not sure, but basically Athletics Canada is like USATF. So he's going to be working basically for USATF, but the USATF version of Canada.
I don't know how much I'm allowed to say because I kind of got scared when I mentioned his name and then you didn't know that he. But I know,
I just saw the article. Like it's out there. It's out there.
Okay, good. Because I know some people I'm not going to mention names, are following him. So I'm not sure if that involves leaving OTC completely, or if that just means changing training locations.
What's
But I know
funny
some
actually,
people.
yeah, he's
So,
moving like in Victoria, and Victoria is like it's on Vancouver Island, so it's an island that's like right next to where I live. It's like an hour and a half from where I live, so it's funny that he'll be there. They have a hub there. It's called like West Hub, where like they have like elite level runners. I mean, they're not as good as Horizon, that's for sure. Which is crazy because they're actually funded by Athletics Canada, like fully funded by Athletics Canada. They have a lot of funding, and like they definitely don't have the level of athletes that we have, or like that like my coach has in general. Like Britt Townsend, she has like, honestly, in my opinion, like one of the best squad in Canada for sure. Because she has like two of her athletes are going to worlds on the women's side and one on the men's side, so that's three athletes going to worlds that she coaches. So that's solid. Yeah, I don't know what he's gonna do there. It seems like maybe they're trying to create a pro group there. Maybe I
which is
think I think
interesting.
they might be wanting to create a pro group there. So I wouldn't be surprised if like maybe something like some of the OTC guys that are from Canada move out there and try and work out there. That'd be interesting to see what happens in the next couple of months.
That's what I find interesting though, because obviously in terms of Nike as a whole, you've got Jerry moving to Eugene, taking Bauman track club with them. So that basically now the University of Oregon is just a Nike factory where they're just sending athletes off to the university, being coached by Jerry. And then as soon as they leave, they can join Bauman. So it's like a perfect setup for Nike and for Bauman because they get athletes and they can also train the athletes. So I feel like Oregon will soon become the best distance school in the country by quite a clear margin.
Yeah, they're already like
Which,
a staple school, right? Like, I mean, Nike was created like in
yeah,
Oregon, in the state of Oregon. It's like really famous for track and field. I'd say like the track and field hub there is crazy. Like even in Portland, like everywhere in Oregon, there's like different hubs. Like, because even in Portland, like, Craig Ingles lives there with like Craig Nowak, and they have like a bunch of like a big running community there. Like I was actually with them last weekend, and it's like really cool to see like the track and field culture that's there.
it also makes sense from a Bauman point of view. Like Bill Bauman, it's literally named after Bill Bauman, who was a coach at the University of Oregon.
Exactly.
So it makes sense. But I just find it interesting how so many things are happening where you've got Mark Rowland leaving OTC, you've got Jerry Shumacher moving with Bauman to the University of Oregon, you've got what is it, Ben Johnson not re-signing at Oregon. So it's just like there's so many different moving pieces. And then rumors, I don't know if I'm allowed to say on the podcast, of different groups starting and things like that. So yeah, there's so many different things that it's just sort of exciting to see what's happening, especially with the Worlds happening. And then I guess you've got the California Olympics. I'm not American, but it's just exciting to see. Oh, I'm not even North American because you're not American either. Or is it? I always get confused. It's America.
Well, yeah. So North America is Canada and the United
Yeah.
States. But then the United
Yes.
States, they claim America, like they call themselves America, but it's like America is the actual continent, right? So
yeah, it's I always say Americans when it's like literally it's not even America because it's North and South America. So how are you determining American?
well, it's North America. So North America is there's North America, Central America, like South America.
Yeah.
And so like that's how it is.
Either way,
But,
it's close to home, isn't it? I guess in terms of it being that side of the world, and obviously the world champs.
I'm 3 hours drive away from the States, from Seattle, right? So yeah,
So it's not.
it's gonna be interesting to see. It seems like Nike is almost like just they have their chessboard, and then they're just like taking people and like placing them at different places. That's what Nike's doing, basically.
Having spoken to a few different Nike people, it's actually remarkable how obviously it makes sense they're the biggest sporting company in the world, but it's how remarkable how planned out things are. Like sometimes you think, why have they done that? Why have they done that? Or like, what are they actually doing right now? But they're always making moves or always trying to make moves. And I feel like when it comes to an Olympic year or a world championship year, they're like getting ready to pounce on so many different things. And that's how they always stay at the top. Like it's always convenient how the shoe regulations seem to fit perfectly with what their shoes are and stuff like that. I mean, I don't want to get into that because that's a different rabbit hole in terms of super shoes and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's a different rabbit hole. We could go deep in there, but yeah, it'll be cool to see what happens there.
And finally, on the subject of OTC, we have today an announcement that Nigel Amos has been banned for using a drug that I'd never heard of before. And or suspended, sorry, not banned. I guess he's got a suspended ban or whatever it is. And it's kind of like something that's not really well known, but it's sort of quite a new drug. What's been banned since 2009, I think, because it improves performance, and also two, it can cause cancer and stuff like that. So what were your initial thoughts after reading that? Because Nigel Amos, I don't know how I can say it now. I really liked Nigel Amos as an athlete and as a person,
Yeah.
and it kind of hurt to see that today.
Yeah, totally. I mean, reading on the product and on what he was using exactly, like it seems like I could see how he could have actually, no, I can't see it. Like he probably knew what he was doing, but like, yeah, I mean, he is shredded. Like he's definitely shredded and super skinny, right? For an 800-meter runner as well. Which usually they're maybe a bit more bulky, I'd say. But yeah, it looks like it's a drug that, like, yeah, like you said, like is banned. And also like it helps like you like burn a lot of fat really quickly, and like it helps improve your endurance. So obviously there is like a performance aspect to it where like definitely enhances it's a performance enhancer that's banned for a reason. So yeah, it's definitely sad to see that. I mean, it's gonna be interesting to see if he comes out with a story. I see that like he did post something on his IG like talking about it. He just said like that he's been made aware of it, and that like he's like trying to see like and investigate like where it came from. But like literally like after looking online, like I can see like it's easy to buy. Like you can just buy it and like literally ingest it like if you wanted to, but it's not like medically approved. So it's like not even like legal for like pharmacies to sell it, but there's still like online stores that sell it somehow, like nutrition based stores. So yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I don't really know what to think about it. It sucks.
And it's kind of a different one, I guess, to the Shelby scenario, which is probably the most high profile doping story, because it was sort of straight away they had everything ready and to go, and it was like,
yo, Shelby was a bunch of bullshit, straight up. Like that's crazy. And I don't know like if I'm allowed to talk about it, but like when I went to Flagstaff, literally like I'm not making any accusations, but like I saw her there and Bowerman was there at the same time after she got banned. So like I'm just saying like literally I was training in Flagstaff and I would see her run like very close to Bowerman, and like she's not like on paper allowed to train with them, right? So that's pretty messed in my opinion.
I think that's what Debut Stafford said as well, that the clarity between were they training with a banned athlete or not was very blurred, and that was one of the reasons why she left Bowerman, was because of there wasn't much
really?
like she didn't know where she stood in terms of was she training with a banned athlete or not.
It's crazy because like yeah, I think she left like a little bit after I went to Flagstaff, and when I was in Flagstaff there, when they were training on the track, like Shelby wasn't there, so they were respecting that rule properly. Because I was training at the same, I've seen Barman train, like I was training on the track, in Sedona at the same time as they were training, and then like yeah, they seem to be respecting that. But then on the little back roads, like if you were in Flagstaff, like on the, like there's this place called Mailbox where you can go run there. There's like beautiful how do you call it, just trails, like really big like dirt roads is the word I was looking for, really big dirt roads, and like they go into the forest, and like you can literally like there's no cars there even. So like I was running there with my training partner, and literally I saw like Shelby, she like parked on the side of the road and like went for a run, but like Barman was there at the same time. So that's where you're saying like yeah, it's like got a gray area, like she's there jogging, but she's there at the same time as them, and like she's still jogging with them. So I mean, yeah, they should have been more careful with that straight up, because like I mean I witnessed this and I saw it with my own eyes, but I didn't really think much of it at the time. But I can see how like in that group you're like you maybe like a little bit uncomfortable being there.
And I do find it interesting how at the start the group a lot of the group posted like defending Shelby straight away, and they also like had a press conference ready and a statement ready and everything ready. Whereas in Nigel Amos's case, I haven't seen any posts from OTC yet at all, and it's like I don't understand what's happening and how it's different, or like Nigel seems like you can't really get contaminated of the drug he was taking. I haven't seen anything what says he may have got it this way. So
yeah, no, I don't think there's anything like that. It seems with the drug he's taking. Obviously it was outside of competition and outside of training. It was like in June or something. So it wasn't in competition. It was last summer, I guess he was training. I don't know how that happened. But yeah, with Shelby, it's like just Nike had it all planned out, in my opinion. Straight up, Nike had it all planned up. Like, it seemed like they just already knew what they were gonna say. It seems like they're just like placing, like I said earlier, on the chessboard, they're just like placing everything there, and they already knew what they were gonna say, like the press conference and all that. Like, everything just, in my opinion, seemed fake. But again, like, she might have not been doping. She might have been. I think the chances of her actually getting contaminated by like pork that she ate, or like, I'm a numbers guy, and like, the chances are like very, very, very small, like under 1% for sure. So that's why I don't believe her story. But with Nigel Amos, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see the story.
Yeah, even if there is a story. I think with Shelby though, last thing on this, I don't want to sort of always touch on Shelby because it's been quite a long time ago now. It's one of them where I think WADA, after like the investigation, basically said how it'd be like physically near impossible for it to happen, and then you've got to eat a certain amount of. But there's always a small percentage of it. It's like, imagine if she is innocent and she is having like, it must be hell. But then it's also like, you could think about that about anything. So it's like, you've got to trust the system is right.
Yeah.
And it's like, if it's not, then that's absolutely terrible for Shelby. And
I heard that the person that was like making the final decision, or the judge, or the person that works for WADA, is really strict. Like, the person that was put on her case. I heard from other pro athletes and sources that they were saying how like that one, I think she's a woman, like that one woman that was taking care of that case, she's like really strict with stuff. And so like, yeah, maybe there's a small thin chance that it was just cross contamination. But yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll never know the actual truth behind it, but straight up, it is kind of a funky story to use.
Yeah, and maybe the way they did it and spoke about it in the press conferences is the reason I feel like even a tiny percentage of doubt, but that might just be because I've been told it by media and by what they've said. So I kind of, want to trust what's the ruling and stuff like that. You can't really do much more than that. The next thing I wanted to talk about is, obviously we've got Worlds coming up, and you've got an athlete competing at Worlds as well. Is there any sort of races you're most excited for at Worlds in terms of competition, other than obviously watching one of your own compete? But is there anything else you're kind of excited to see, like any certain matchups?
I don't know, man. I think they're all going to be like very interesting. Obviously, the 800 women as well. I mean, obviously, I'm kind of biased because like I know people like personally that are like competing there. But even anyone that's doubling, it'll be interesting to see personally how they do. Because I think there's like a couple of people that are doubling the 15, the 5K, like Jakob. Like, it'll be interesting to see if he can pull it out. Obviously, like, big fan of him. In terms of sprint, I think like the 400 or like the 400 meters always like really dope to see. So I'm interested to see there who wins, even the 100 meters, like classic race that everybody wants to see, right?
Have you got
I don't really have any names in mind too much, other than people that I know from Canada and the States.
Have you got any hot takes going into it?
For the 15, you mean?
Or any event? Like, I'm trying to think of a hot take that I've got on the top of my head. Kind of can't really think of any. Like, I think Jakob's going to get the double, but I guess that's not really a hot take because it's kind of, he was one of the best in the 5 and one of the best in the 15, or was the best in the 15.
Big possibility he'll get double. He'll get both, right? I don't know, man. I don't really have any hot takes, honestly. Like, it's more like I do follow track a lot closely, but I'm so hyper focused on like Horizon as a squad and like trying to hype them up that sometimes I kind of like forget to like really check like too much track stuff. Like, I'm always thinking like outside the box, like how can we make track like appealing to other people? So like sometimes I kind of like miss out on like looking at actual results, and like I am a fan of the sport, obviously, but yeah, I'm like very, very much like mile focused, 1500 meter focused that I follow. I think that the 400 is going to be like an event that I really like watching. It's just such an animal event, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm sad about Gardner's not in the 400 anymore, is he? I was pretty sad about that. But I kind of want Michael Norman to win the 4 anyway, so I'm happy that he's not racing. But yeah,
But the thing is, like, in a championship, anything can happen. So that's what's exciting about that, right? Like, someone can, like, even like at the Olympics when like the 100 meters, like what's his name, the Italian guy,
Marcel
Won.
Jacobs.
Yeah, like Jacobs won, and it was like for me it was like I wasn't expecting him to win. So like I'm really looking forward to seeing like upsets. Like I like upsets. So whenever I see upsets, that'll be exciting. That's what I'm gonna look forward to. Any upsets. Like if there's an upset and someone beats Jacob, that'll be sick. Like if there's an upset, I think that'd be interesting.
And do you know what? When I think about the men's 15, and again, I really like the men's 15 as well. And it's kind of like you kind of look at who he's competed against this year and how he's beaten everyone, and he hasn't lost in the 15. But then Abel Kipsang is scary. Timothy Cheruiyot is scary. And then you've got like Ollie Hoare and Josh Kerr, who obviously Jakob has beaten Ollie Hoare twice, and Josh Kerr lost to Ollie Hoare, but they're dangerous as well. So it's like, is someone gonna come out of the woodwork and just like obliterate everyone? Who knows?
Ollie Hoare could just win. Honestly, you never know.
Jake Whiteman could come and outkick everyone in the last 200 if it's like a decently paced race. So it's
he has the kick.
The 15 is the most exciting event, I think, definitely of the distance events, maybe of all the events. But like you said, I've really enjoyed the 4 and the 100, and then the 4 hurdles. The 4 hurdles isn't as exciting this year. Like Sydney seems like in a league of her own, and then in the men's side, it seems like Benjamin and Warholm aren't quite where they were at. So it may be Dos Santos who actually wins it.
I think I got Dos Santos. No lie, I really like that guy. Like, I think he might take it.
Maybe, and I think that's great because in the women's side, it's always been Dalil Mohammed and Sydney, and then Femke Bol behind, but as the third best. And on the men's side, it's always been Rai and Karsten, and then Dos Santos as. So it'd be crazy to see Femke Bol come through, which is probably more doubtful than Dos Santos winning. But I just like you said, underdog seeing an upset. It's always exciting.
Any upsets, yeah.
And
yeah, totally.
the thing I normally ask people at the end, and this is different for you because you just mentioned it, how to make track and field better. And I normally say, if you had unlimited money or if you could change one thing, rather than asking you if you could change one thing, I want to hear some ideas of how you'd adapt maybe track and field, improve it, or just different ways.
A reality TV show with track and field athletes. Maybe they're all at training camp and you have a reality TV show going there where like multiple teams interact with each other. Maybe something like that would be dope. Seeing the behind the scenes, man, like there's a lot of athletes who don't even know what they do behind the scenes, you know. We just see them competing. We see them competing when they're at their best, but we don't even see when they're at their worst. So like I want to see people when they're at their worst too, you know, like I think it inspires others. I think just having a reality TV show would be cool, like see the personalities. Maybe a dating show, bro. Maybe like they're dating, like a dating show, but just for track and field athletes. I think that could be interesting.
That is a great idea. It's a shame I'm not at Worlds because I just want to do that in Eugene. Like as soon as their event's been, like set up a dating show where you get like, that'd be cool.
Yo, like a speed dating thing. That'd be sick. I'm like 8 hours drive from Eugene. So but I've been going to the States for the past 3 weekends. So I'm like, man, like, I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to go, but if I go, like, I'll try and do something fun.
You should do that. I think that's like such a cool idea. Just like get them down. And it's like, have you seen, well, you won't have seen it because it's British, but I'm sure there's different ones in Canada and different ones in the States as well, where it's like, there's like celebs go dating where celebrities have dates and stuff like that. So it's like that, but then
that'd be cool. Yo, imagine if we did that with track and field athletes, like we set up dates and then it would just film it. They're like mic'd up. They're like mic'd up and we film it from far. That'd be interesting.
I'd watch that all day. That would be amazing to me. That is a brilliant idea.
Yeah, honestly, you want to see their everyday life stuff as well, not just them training and yeah. I think like honestly, like even like partying is pretty taboo in track, which is annoying because like if you see like basketball players when they win cups, like they're like popping champagne bottles and like, you know, like drinking in the locker rooms and stuff. Like in the Michael Jordan documentary on Netflix, for example, like you'll see that like a lot like shown. But in track, it's kind of like taboo. Like if someone cracks a beer after a race or something, which like I think it shouldn't be. Like I'd want to see like what happens after, like all the behind talk, like all of that. Even like one thing that was cool actually, what's his name? Clayton Murphy. Like he mics himself up, I think, when he races. I think that's a smart idea. I think that's sick.
So I wanted to do that for working out. But I just the mics where you can have long range distance like that they're quite expensive. So I was like, maybe in a year's time I'll get one, but like where you can, get a full distance of the track in, they're a decent amount of money. So I was like,
I'm thinking about that now. Like with our squad, like when we're training, we shoot the shit a lot, even like between reps, because we're like a lot of guys training together. Like we'll say a lot of funny stuff while we're working out and stuff. So I think it'd be awesome to like have that, because like let's say like Sweat Elite videos or like Workout Wednesdays videos, like you see them work out, but like if they're in the distance talking, like you don't really know what they're saying. And sometimes you don't even understand. But if you had them mic'd up and hearing them breathe and like hearing them like their steps, oh, that would be sick. And even in races, like before they go to the track, if they were mic'd up from like from before, like from when they're in the waiting room, because like literally like even at Canadian Nationals, like there's a lot of talk that goes on in the waiting room and stuff like that. And after the races, when you're cooling down, there's a lot of talk that happens. You're like going back on your race, like, oh, yo, this happened. Because during the race, like everybody's focused, like no one's talking. But like after the race, like athletes like always like chat together and like hang out, but like no one sees that.
Well, like first of all, the waiting room thing, that I've had some of the strangest conversations in my life in a waiting room before a race before.
Yeah.
Like it's always like the randomest conversation because everyone's nervous and you don't know, you want to be sort of, you want to lighten the mood of it, but then you don't really want to say too much. And then afterwards, I feel like runners are, like you said, because there's never personality shown, and runners are some of like the craziest people I've ever known. And after it's because you always see them finish the race. Yeah, I was happy with my race, but you never actually see what they're doing. And that, I was speaking to Ben Crawford about this, obviously new generation track and field. Like he wants to do a reality show of like not running related at all. Like if he did a podcast, he wouldn't want it to be running. He'd want it to be runners.
Literally like we just had a podcast with Craig Ingalls and Craig Nowak. There's also like Sinclair Johnson. And I think, it's going to get released this Friday. So like whoever's listening to this podcast, like go check it out. It's on Horizon's Track is our Instagram. I don't know if I can send you the link to our stuff, but like, we did it like in person, like with all three of them. And like, we're like talking a little bit about running, but like mostly we're just like shooting the shit and talking about random stuff. So like I think it'll be like really interesting for people to know. And like Craig, I mean, these guys are just like such big personalities and they're not afraid to show it, right? So it's a solid podcast. But I think in general, if you're like just talking to athletes like about other things than running, it's kind of cool to just get into their lives. That's what people want to hear as well.
Yeah, I always find it more interesting. And I also love it whenever Craig Engels is on a podcast because it means I've definitely got some sort of content to post on Trackstaa because he always says something.
You'll probably get some for sure.
Yeah, that's fine. Just make sure I get the exclusive as it drops and then I can, get it out first. I
can say it. Totally we'll do that.
I think it'll be good to leave the podcast here because I feel like with Horizon and Trackstaa, I really want to like work together more and discuss things more. So I feel like this is a podcast where we can actually come back like down the line, maybe 4 months time, 5 months time, and be like, this is what's changed and talk about everything again. Because it's just, I guess we share quite a lot of experiences in the space. So I'd just be keen to leave things for another conversation. So
you can have even like my work partner, like who owns Horizon with me. You could have him, Jose, another day, or whoever works with us. Like we'll have our team's growing. So like you'll definitely be able to have more people. If you want to have Cam after Worlds and stuff, you can have him as well. Like I'm sure he's open to it. And so let's work together. Let's make the sport more hype, man. Let's grow it up for real. It's about time.
Sounds good. And the final thing I have to ask is, I always ask this, and it's two parts actually now because I copied this off a different podcast. One is for everyone who listens this far on the podcast, we always get them to DM us a random word. So then we know that they've listened this far. So can you think of a word for us to say to them, first of all?
Mate.
Just M-A-T.
M-A-T-E, mate.
Okay, mate, that's fine. And then
is that the word?
That's
just a random word.
Yeah, just any random word. The better.
I just love those UK words, man.
Yeah, like mate, calm. Oh, there's so many actually. That's UK slang is an interesting one because it sometimes contradicts American slang.
Where's my food, bruv?
Nah, no one says bruv anymore. That's like
no. Yo, I watched Top Boy. That's why Top Boy.
Yeah, Top Boy to say it. South London. And the final question is, if you could ask, like, it's a surprise. I don't even know yet. One question for our next guest. What question would you want to ask someone else?
Oh shit! And I don't know who the guest is, right?
Yeah, you don't know.
You could ask them. That's one question I think is. If you could like, that's one question I've heard in another podcast. I think that I found really interesting. It's like if you go for a run, like but just like a conversational run with anyone and just have a conversation with them, who would it be and where? But like it doesn't need to be a runner, you know. Like I could say like Johnny Depp and like I'd just go for a like chill run in Beaverton with him and we'd have a talk. So if there was one person that you could do that with, like who would it be? Dead or alive? They could be dead as well. All right.
Who would you say?
Past. Yo, Steve Prefontaine for real in Beaverton on the trails there. I think that'd be iconic. Right now, out of my mind, that's who it would be. I think it'd be interesting to talk to that guy.
I'd have to say Steve Prefontaine or
someone. I'd mic myself up. I'd mic myself up to release it as a podcast too.
That would be. I mean, it's hypothetical, so I don't know why I'm getting excited about the concept.
Yeah, I'm getting hyped about it, but it's like so
it's not
hypothetical.
Happening. But yeah, I'd probably pick Steve Prefontaine as well. Like when I've ever listened to like the Shoe Dog or anything about Prefontaine, I always get like shivers and stuff, and it's just cool.
Yeah.
So
you watch his movies? There's like 2 movies on him, I think.
I haven't watched them. I need to watch them. I'm not a fan of acting of running because I don't like how I don't know how track and field's portrayed at all in films or stuff like that.
It's an older movie though. It's an older movie, so I think it's a bit better. But yeah, you're right. Yeah, okay. I guess that'll be a question you could ask, but it doesn't need to be a runner though. It could be like an artist. It could be anyone.
Okay, and I guess if everyone else is listening to this as well, when you put mate, also answer that question as well, because I found that quite an interesting question. I'll probably do that on a post as well for Trackstaa, so thank you for a post idea. So yeah, thank you for coming on. It's been a pleasure, and if anyone wants to follow you, I'll leave all the links in the description below.
For sure, man.
And hopefully just stay tuned for a lot more content, I guess, in the future where we're collaborating together. Thank you for listening, and goodbye.